People, welcome back to the channel for another new Poppy Playtime video. Today we're gonna watch more of Game Theorist, but this is a more updated video. This is Poppy's story, Poppy Playtime, which I think includes chapter 4, right before the release of Poppy Playtime chapter 5, which I did hear that people had problems with. But I'm still open to playing the games if you guys really want me to. If you guys missed it, I reacted to their first video. I think that that included. I think it dropped right before chapter 4 dropped. I'll leave it at the top of the screen here. But I hope you guys enjoy. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know down in the comments what you guys want me to check out next. If you guys want me to check out some more Poppy Playtime videos. Yeah, let's get into it.
Before Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Since Poppy Playtime burst onto the scene back in 2021, we've been working hard in the Theory Factory trying to figure out the lore of this game. We've covered everything from teasers to ARGs, even the collaborations with other games. But with Chapter 5 on the horizon, I figured it would be useful to put it all into one place so you loyal theorists don't have to lift a pretty little porcelain finger. Here is Game Theory's updated Poppy Playtime line. Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that's your one-stop shop for all things Poppy. And this year is Poppy Playtime's 5th anniversary. That is 5 years of lore that have built up. And let me tell you, Mob Entertainment has been
5 years of videos,
this stuff.
5 years of books,
of the game, in ARGs, in books, in so many teasers, and even inside collaborations with Roblox and Fortnite. It's a lot to keep up.
Wait, actually? Like the Roblox game is like official.
With, even for
because I thought you could like make games in like Fortnite and Roblox, right?
My job. So if you're someone that's only been playing the games, there might be a ton of integral lore you've missed out on. But not to worry, because just like last year, I've decided to lend you all a helping hand and put together a timeline of everything we've learned so far about this beast of a franchise. As usual, instead of focusing really heavily on the evidence like a normal theory, I'll instead be leaning in more on the story side of things. We'll have these little citations in the bottom corner for where we're getting evidence, and we'll be putting our handy dandy theory traffic light in the top corner to clarify things even more. Green means what I'm saying is supported by facts, yellow means what I'm saying is theory, and red means that I'm making assumptions to make sense of the story, but aren't really supported outside of the narrative. But with that out of the way, loyal theorists, let's hop on our Playtime Express and go on a journey through the history of Playtime.
Hey, on the train.
Theoryverse.store, where we're having a...
Ooh, kind of like that. I kind of like that hoodie. Yeah, hoodie's kind of fire. I don't know about that shirt. Oh, I don't know about those pants. Oh my god, that looks ass. Wait, that shirt over there looks
sale on all things Poppy in anticipation for Chapter 5. You can get 20% off this hoodie, this shirt, these pants, literally everything.
No, those pants those pants are insane. Those pants kind of remind me like the emoji pants.
20. But be quick, the deal is only available until February 23rd. Just use the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. And remember to use code PLAYTIME20. But now, let's ride this train back to where it all began and focus on the girl who started it all. Little Miss Poppy Playtime. Poppy was born on March 7th, 1949.
What the hell?
She was the most sweet and adorable little girl. And so, very quickly, she found herself in the loving arms of her adoptive father, Elliot Ludwig.
Playtime Co. is the product of a great man by the name of Elliot Ludwig, divorced but a family man at heart.
He started the toy company in 1930, though he...
I was about to say, we started in the 40s, but it was like 30 now.
He would tell Poppy stories while he held her, about how his wife left him the same year he started the company, and as a result, he lacked any true inspiration until he met her. The next year, in 1950, he created what would soon be the most famous toy.
Poppy Playtime! Poppy.
Still the most sadistic goddamn doll ever. Okay, not really ever, but that shit's crazy. The eyes are really wild.
As a real girl, and she talks like one too. Hi, my name is Poppy.
No, it's not. No, you
This
don't.
doll was revolutionary. She wasn't just a doll who talked. She was a doll who listened. A doll like this had never existed before. People loved her, but no one loved her more than Poppy herself. She loved all of her father's creations.
Adorable.
She was always enamored by his genius. Not just in how he managed to make Poppy a household name, but because he was doing something no one else was. She knew the reason these toys were able to talk and
it's in the
listen
red.
was because they were truly alive. Her father would tell her
hell?
about his love for science and
I don't remember this stuff being said in the video. What the fuck?
Embryology, and how he used that in his toy making process to create Poppy Playtime in the first place. Most
What?
children would have been put off when they found out their favorite toy was filled with squishy, bloody stuff, but not Poppy. Although he did warn her not to take it apart and show people.
Going on? Wait, what?
People, just like the rest of his employees. Even though she loved it, the rest of the world wouldn't understand. He also put a clause in the instructions stating that if Poppy was taken apart by untrained personnel, she would break immediately and no refunds would be given, just in case. As time went on, the Poppy
You know that didn't stop people. People are definitely tearing that shit apart.
She became an icon. Poppy was the new face of the company. They even built a Poppy Playtime theme park, and the real-life Poppy was getting to enjoy everything that came with being the heir to a successful toy company. To her, the factory was absolutely magical. She loved how she got to see new toys getting made. She loved exploring new parts of the factory. This was just
she was all in the factory
long
too?
and happy life for her, and she was excited to
Possible
go and
better
visit
forget things from
Playtime
that
factories
video.
all over the...
Oh,
But
fuck.
she never got to visit those factories. Well, at least not as she currently was.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. But with so much ambition, he rose back up and continued to fulfill his vision for the Playtime Co.
Dang, I must not remember. Was it the 60s?
toy factory.
Poppy woke
Oh my god.
up on an operating table, her eyes blurry. But as they came into focus, she saw medical equipment, scientists, and most importantly, her father. But something was different about him. His haircut was the same. He was still wearing the same old stuffy pressed
Oh, this is
suits.
the year
His
she
face
came
looked
back. Okay.
Older, years older. It felt like she had woken up from a deep sleep. It's impossible for someone to look so different in such a short amount of time, and yet he did. However, he's not the only one that changed. As she looked down at her limbs, she realized that the fleshy legs
Yeah.
she used to run around the factory had been
Yeah, damn.
replaced with porcelain.
That's
Her
crazy.
hair was
I'm not gonna lie. This story being told from her perspective is pretty dope.
now an
It's
unnatural
pretty dope.
fiery red, and she was wearing a dress that looked awfully familiar. She had been turned into a doll, and it wasn't just any doll. She was now the Poppy Playtime. Before she could even speak, her father leant over and hugged her, crying, and picked her up in his arms,
Damn.
taking her to their new home that he had built inside the factory. He sat her down and told her everything. It turns out, in 1960, when she had only just turned 11 years old, she met a tragic fate. Her father was devastated, like any father would be. She was his entire world, and within moments, it was all
Okay,
taken
so
away
49.
from him. So he decided that he wasn't going to lose his family again. He was going to dedicate the rest of his life to bringing her back. He was going to use the science of embryology to do it, just like he had used it to make the original Poppy dolls.
Embryology.
The trouble was, that plan was going to require time, research, and most importantly, money. So Playtime Co. developed new toys like Bron the Dinosaur and Boxy Boo to continue to bring in money from the next generation of kids. They weren't nearly as successful as Poppy, but beggars can't be choosers. More employees were also brought in on the back end, like Mr. Eddie Ritterman and Mr. Leith Pierre, to support
Leith
the business side
Pierre.
of things, so that he could focus on his new initiative, the Young Geniuses Program, a program where young people would be brought into Playtime Co. headquarters
I don't remember the black kid being there. Maybe it was.
as an
No!
apprenticeship of sorts. He wanted the best and brightest young minds to tackle the universe's most unanswerable questions. And what is more unanswerable than death itself? Her father sounded so proud as he
No,
told her
that's
stories
bars,
of him
actually.
and his new team of whiz kids. How they performed hundreds of experiments, all with the goal of her revival, using lab rats to test their theories about how
Look at her face. She's like, "Oh fuck no, Papa, you crazy."
the poppies that
Crazy as
resided
shit,
in the
Papa.
scent of her new body's hair was somehow the key to all of it. Although there were times he got sad while retelling these stories, usually whenever he remembered a young man by the name of Harley Sawyer. He was incredibly smart, but unfortunately he had a bit of a temper and an utter lack of humility, which led her father to make the difficult decision to let him go. Her father had hoped that this would be a learning moment for him, that he would go on to become a better person the more he experienced the wonders of humanity. Maybe one day he could even return to the factory. But the
And he's like, "Bro, no, you should have had a kid."
part that he was
Having a
most
kid would've
proud
changed
of,
that.
the part that he got the most excited talking about, was when he got to experiment 1006. Its body was made of a mix of machine
Wait, did we see this? Wait, what is this shot from? What the fuck? Was this motherfucker this big? In the other video, I could have sworn it was just the hand that was showing around.
parts and
I was confused with the rest of what the rest of them look like.
Combined
Where's the
with
rest of
his
you?
love of engineering and embryology. But the reason he was so proud was because it worked. Their brain worked exactly as hoped. It was proof that real consciousness could exist in an unnatural body. This was the sign they needed. They knew that their attempts at Poppy's resurrection may truly be possible. So they dubbed experiment 1006 the prototype. It wasn't physically what they wanted, but it was enough so that they could move on to the real
Inspiration.
deal. Experiment
I love the visuals.
1007, her. As Poppy would sit with her father listening to these stories,
Wait, damn, did they?
she was happy. Someone loved her enough to go to all
This
this
video
trouble.
definitely
Even
adds some
signed
more
a contract
things.
with Warren Buck Construction Company in
Oh, this is chapter 4. What the fuck is that thing? Is that a sheep?
loved her enough to go to all this trouble. He even signed a contract with Warren Buck Construction Company in 1972 to expand the factory, including a corridor leading straight to her father's office from their new home so that he could visit whenever she wanted. Although even still, she couldn't help but feel a little sad. He said he did all this for her, but he always seemed distracted, haunted even. The one that got away, Harley, always bugged him. He wished there was something he could have done to save him, but when he joined the Young Geniuses program, he was
His lost son.
old to have his mind changed. If her father wanted to change the world with bright young minds, he needed to start younger. And one day, when he was looking at Poppy, an idea
Why is he looking at her like that?
went off in his head.
That is why it is with enormous pleasure that as the founder of Playtime Co., I announce Playcare, our very own
Whoa,
on-site
that shit looks so
orphanage. But
lit.
it's not only that. It's a school,
Actually
a
so
playhouse,
dope.
a place to belong.
It was a giant underground facility, a place that would take in orphans like he did for Poppy all those years ago, acting as both a home and a school for them, teaching them in the ways they should go. He hired a nice lady named Stella Graber to take care of the majority of Playcare's operations. While Poppy was sad
That
she
was
couldn't
legit. That shit
interact with these children,
it was
she
real. That would
wanted
be
to
lit.
kept safe and in good condition. Hearing these formerly broken and abandoned souls laughing did put a smile on her face. But the orphans did see her on occasion, from a distance at least, and they adored her. They draw pictures which her father would bring from his office to
Whoa, oh, pictures?
their home to
Poppy.
show her, and that was more than enough for her. However, as was becoming usual, her father would often have to cut their time together short. Other men at the company would come and try to talk to him, and it didn't sound like they were good conversations. She would ask him about them when they spent time together. Apparently, sales were low. They hadn't really released a major hit since Poppy back in 1950. He would joke how he and his toys were stuck in the past, and with all of his focus being on her and the Playcare, he'd lost touch with his innovative side. But he had a plan. Playtime Co. launched Candy Cat in 1979. It was pretty successful.
Candy
and was
Cat,
definitely less
Candy
old-fashioned,
Cat.
but it paled in comparison to his next big idea in 1984, Huggy Wuggy. This toy changed everything. He became Playtime Co.'s most popular and best-selling toy so far. Even
I don't think I said this in the first video, but Huggy Wuggy is a dope design. Like design wise, it's really straightforward and it looks inviting.
more than Poppy, literally saving the company. Since Huggy was so popular, they immediately launched an incredibly creative follow-up girl version, Kissy Missy. In
Oh,
1985,
Kissy was the
who
okay. Kissy
just
was the
Huggy,
girl
but
version. Okay.
pink. Poppy could see that this was
Kissy
the
Missy.
desperately needed success her father was hoping for. He was getting older after all, even in
Kissy Missy's a banger name.
inventing
Holy
the
shit.
grab pack to help
They
him move
cooked.
around the factory. So this success was not only going to ensure the company's legacy, but it also meant
Yeah,
that
yeah,
the
Will-
factory stayed open.
Will?
and
Is it Will or
therefore
Will?
kept
I think it
her
might be
home
Will.
safe and sound. Fresh off the hit,
Will?
Poppy sat and
Will or
watched
Will?
as
One
her
of those two.
father's
Cross
creativity
out for imaginary
returned to
friends.
him. Playtime Co. released more toys like the Swapimals, Catbee, and PJ Pugapilla. And then there was her
PJ Pugapilla still needs to die. Wait, I fucking hate
father's
that thing.
next big idea, the Smiling Critters. A whole line of stuffed animals, each with their own personalities and matching scents. It was her father's most ambitious line of toys yet. He even launched a Saturday morning cartoon for it, which he and Poppy could watch together. By all accounts, this should have been another huge success for the company, but it wasn't. In fact, these little guys became one of Playtime Co.'s biggest failures yet. All because
The
of
fire
one
is
of the
crazy.
plushies.
Yeah, because like, yeah, putting fucking
Like
drugging
all the
children
toys,
and
he
shit
was
with a toy. It's
supposed to emit
crazy.
his own scent, lavender, through an uncolored mist, but instead, the plush emitted a red smoke that definitely did not smell like lavender. Not only was it the wrong scent, but it also caused intense nightmares in the kids who bought it. This became a whole controversy that led to the toy being taken off the market entirely. Her father was furious, often missing his time with her to have meetings about this exact issue. But Poppy was small, able to sneak into the vents near his office, and she would see him in shouting matches with the head of innovation, Leith Pierre. After all, his innovation had caused this mess. Leith was overseeing most of the
Now we owe
businesses.
so much
How
fucking
could he let
money.
this happen? But Leith never seemed phased, like he
Better get
knew
sued.
something that Poppy didn't, and that scared her. And she was right to be, because before 1989 was even over, her father passed away. The man who raised her, the man who figured out how to
Wait, hold on. Ain't this different? This is a different timeline for it, isn't it? Like, wait. Whoa.
Leith Pierre. After
Because
all,
in the
his
original, Harley was the one who did it. He brought Harley back. Harley came back, and then like he was like,
innovation.
it was like
had
implied
caused
that
this
Harley
mess.
did it.
Leith
Wait, was that
overseeing
Green?
most of the business at this point. How could he let this happen? But Leith never seemed phased, like he knew something
But this is red.
that Poppy didn't, and that scared her. And she was right to be, because before
But this-
1989 was even over, her father passed away. The man who raised her, the man who figured out how to bring her back from the dead, was now gone forever. She'd find newspapers left behind by workers, articles talking about her father's death. But unfortunately, like when she originally passed, time and people march on. She was once again truly alone. Even Playtime Co. had to figure out a way to move on and keep making toys without him. And who did they get to take over? None other than Leith Pierre. Poppy suspected foul play, but she had no proof, and right now she had bigger things to worry about, because with the Smiling Critters fiasco, Leith had to find the company's next big thing, and fast. And his focus immediately turned to her, the living,
Wait, this is crazy. The whole timeline has changed compared to the video that I saw.
breathing clone of a girl.
The video
that
was just a
everyone
year ago.
thought was dead. Now he would come and visit her to observe her, but he never treated
fuck?
her like a person. She was just a thing to him. She would hear him muttering to himself, "If I can figure out how Elliot did this and mass produce it, it would make all of us a lot of money." The only problem is Elliot was dead, and the only people who had helped out with the project were kids from the Young Geniuses program, all of whom Poppy hadn't seen around the factory for a long time. Clearly, they'd all moved on, so she figured
I guess. Oh, I forgot. I guess this is from Pop. Yeah, this story is from Poppy's point of view. So like maybe she hasn't seen like Harley or whatever. So I got
she
that
was
makes sense.
safe.
Yeah.
Leith wouldn't be deterred so easily. She noticed a new man around the factory, Jared Lockhart, a private investigator, and she'd see him talking to Leith a lot. She'd come to learn that he
This
was
smiles.
tasked with finding
Chapter
these
4, I
people,
speak.
and that they'd reached out to one of them who looked promising. And one day, while
Or
she
this is
was
all
snooping
information
around
could
the
be from
facility,
chapter 4.
She saw Leith sitting down with someone new.
My
Oh,
name
Harley?
is Harley.
Oh, it is Harley. Okay, yeah.
I'm called the Doctor.
Her eyes widened. This was the man her father had warned her about, the one who lacked humanity in his research. But maybe it's okay. Maybe her father had succeeded. Maybe all of these years away had helped him.
Giant toys. We can increase our workforce and simultaneously decrease the number of losses
Simultaneously.
and people on our payroll.
After a few weeks, in January of 1990, Harley began to appear in Poppy's home. He was baffled by her existence and would often scoff at the idea that her soft father could ever have accomplished this. Nevertheless, he had, and so the poking and prodding began.
It's been weeks and weeks of taking things out and putting them back in and taking things out and putting them back in over and over and over.
Everything he did was filled with an anger, a
But this is red though.
bitterness towards her father, like he was trying to outdo him. He was willing to do anything that it took for the advancement of science. Poppy wasn't the only one he was doing this to either. Harley would often talk frustratedly about how she and another experiment were so difficult to work with. 1006, the prototype. Poppy remembered that name from all those years ago when her father told her about her creation. They had since been turned into a jester-like character, so they would somewhat
shit.
blend in with the old
Like he was doing mean things to my butt.
fashioned toy factory at the
Oh,
time.
dang, I was going somewhere. My headphones turned off.
But now she knew Harley was also prodding
Was that on the toilet?
them for answers.
You stick us, beat us, tear at flesh.
Hmm?
old-fashioned toy factory and turned into a jester-like character, so they would somewhat blend in with the old-fashioned toy factory at the time. But now, she knew Harley was also prodding them for answers.
You stick us, beat us, tear our flesh.
There are flesh.
Learn something new about you every day.
However, he couldn't just keep pulling them apart. He needed to actually experiment. And when Poppy realized that, she was even more horrified. To experiment, you need test subjects. Test subjects that were like her, children, orphans, all of whom were safely being kept down in the bowels of the Playcare. She was forced to witness their pain, being held in the lab as a reference point for the procedure they were about to do. He picked up where Elliot left off, with experiment 1008, 1009, 10, 11, 12, 13,
Didn't it go to
14,
1100 or
15, all total failures. And yet, Harley moved on like it was
Crazy.
nothing. But Poppy just sat there.
Wait, 1015 tags, archives. So our understanding. Oh, no, I want to read that.
All total failures. And yet, Harley moved on like it was nothing. But Poppy
Our understanding of neuronal reactivation is in part or whole wrong. Use of systematic tissues seemed initially promising, but yielded no results. Subject showed minor brain activity of any kind. Another failure. I've assured innovation that this is norm. After all, we are dealing with a field so new it has no name, much less a clear path.
just sat there, weeping, as one by one she watched an innocent child die. Until one day, when her weeping was interrupted by an unexpected noise.
So this is all red still. Yeah.
The phone in
I was
her
about to say, I
hand
feel like a lot or a good amount of Poppy's perspective would just be red,
was ringing.
red lighted.
Curious, she picked it up. No one ever used this. On the other end of the line was a young boy. He said his name was Ollie, and he knew about the bad men and what they were doing.
Green?
Poppy
Wait,
couldn't
Ollie?
hold back her tears. She would
Wait, what?
cry to him on the phone every night about the horrors
Oh, this is in chapter 4. I was about to say, what the
she'd
heck is this?
experienced and witnessed, as Ollie just listened and tried to comfort her best he could. This all went on for over 100 experiments before Harley
Yeah,
even was able to
1100,
manage
yeah.
any result with promise. Experiment 1160, Boxy Boo. This proved that what Harley had pitched
Why the fuck does Boxy Boo look like that, bro?
was possible, that he could make larger living toys, but Poppy knew they weren't like her. This thing was a monster, animalistic, purely acting on instinct. It wasn't aware or alive like she was. It was almost like they'd been brainwashed, and in doing so, lost their humanity. Nevertheless, Harley and Leith ran with it, building the game station as a place where orphans would be tested on their physical and mental abilities. They even changed the curriculum in the schoolhouse to focus on Playtime Co. history, all to hopefully prepare the kids for their permanent residence as bigger bodies. They immediately started performing more elaborate experiments, like creating bigger body versions of Huggy, Yarnaby, and Catnap. Poppy found Catnap's story the most tragic. In 1989, the prototype
Yeah, this is the Theodore thing. I think I'm pretty sure.
managed to occasionally escape confinement.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
Theodore.
like she'd been doing, it befriended an orphan, Theodore Gramble. But the prototype was not a great influence. Theodore got caught attempting to steal files, and eventually in 1990, 2 grab packs and green hands so that they could plan an escape. Unfortunately, they weren't successful, and Theodore overcharged the green hand, electrocuting himself. Poppy was often surprised that the prototype didn't just leave. Instead, it stayed behind and carried Theodore to staff. They turned him into a bigger body, but that actually saved his life, much like her father had done for her all those years ago. In 1991, Poppy met another new bigger body, Mummy Longlegs. She
Mummy
was a
Longlegs.
huge hit with the kids at the game station, and so got assigned to work there. In fact, all of
Yeah,
these
Mummy
giant
Longlegs
toys
is low-key kind of chill.
were assigned to a station.
No,
Mummy
she's
would
chill like
help
that.
with the game station. Huggy was a security guard. Catnap would help the orphans sleep, and Boxy Boo would help get rid of problems, like the poor
Wait, is that why Boxy Boo like a fucking monster?
IT employee named Rowan Stoll, who had begun to figure out what was going on inside the company and threatened to leak it to the press.
Oh,
Seeing
God.
all these kids interact with these monsters, it made Poppy angry. They had no idea what, no, who was inside these things, or that they too would soon suffer the same fate. And she wasn't the only one feeling this way. The prototype was getting noticeably more angry about the whole ordeal, but unlike Poppy, the prototype was smart enough and big enough to do something about it. In June of 1992, it opened up the bay doors and allowed Huggy
Oh
Wuggy to
my
escape the factory.
god, what the fuck? Huggy Wuggy got the fuck up out of there. Yo, that shit is creepy.
Finally, freedom for at least one of these tortured souls, Poppy thought. But sadly, they were captured 5 hours later. Although they did
Huggy Wuggy went out to freedom for 5 hours? The hell? What the hell that dude was out there doing?
Managed to kill 5 employees, with 6 more going missing. She wasn't so keen on that part. She wanted freedom, yes, but they shouldn't be killing to do it. They'd be no better than them at that point. However, it was getting harder to argue, while Playtime Co. only seemed to be going deeper and deeper down the experimental rabbit hole. For example, Playtime Co. had a theater on site where attendees of factory tours could watch performances featuring popular characters and see screenings of films, as well as many other parts of the factory. But in January of 1993, a young boy sadly fell into one of the vats, which Playtime took as an opportunity to try their latest experiment.
Wait, what?
1322, Doughy the Dough Man.
Doughy
3
the
children
Dough
combined
Man?
into one. This was
What?
truly torturous to witness.
What the
Something
fuck?
had to change, and something did change. Just not in the way Poppy expected. That same year, a normal trip to the Playtime Co. Theater turned into a mass casualty event. The experiments got out and went on a rampage, killing 66 visitors and 12 of Leith's newly created resource extraction specialist team, who were
66.
deployed to help deal with the situation. But this time, it wasn't the prototypes doing.
Don't leave us in suspense! What half-wit, soon-to-be dead man made this mistake?
Dr. Harley Sawyer.
Harley Sawyer, one of the biggest names in the company, the orchestrator of all this
Whoa.
suffering, was also rebelling. While
Whoa,
shocking at first, it
whoa.
kind of makes sense. He was
He
easily
changed?
irritable, quick to anger, and he was deeply power hungry. Really, he was completely out of control, refusing to listen to any of the other executives. All he wanted was to figure out what it was that made Poppy and the prototype
Holy
tick. Maybe the prototype offered him
Oh,
a
this is
deal,
red.
offered to share some information for favor. Poppy had no way of knowing, but what she did know is the Playtime Co execs wouldn't stand for this. They weren't as forgiving as her father, but she also knew they needed him. Harley's mind was an asset. He was one of the only people in the entire
Oh, yeah, no, they
world
turned
that
him into a
knew how
TV.
to helm the Bigger Bodies initiative. Sure, there were a lot of other young geniuses working on the project now who were smart and more mild-mannered, but at the end of the day, none of them were Harley. She didn't know what happened next. All she knew is that Harley stopped showing up to the labs. Suddenly, the prototype wanted a meeting with all of the toys after what happened in the theater incident. The prototype began going on about how things needed to change, that they should be free from the torment Playtime had put them through, and that it had a plan to do it. Poppy couldn't believe her ears. Was she actually going to be allowed to leave this place, live a normal life, not be stuck down here and torn apart and locked away like a lab rat? It was too good to be true. The other toys thought so too, and so agreed to unite alongside the prototype. The plan was that one day, while on their specific duties, the prototype would deactivate a bunch of Playtime systems, allowing the toys to roam free and escape. They called it the Hour of Joy.
The
But they needed
Hour
one
of
last
Joy.
hand before they could execute the plan. Playtime Co.
Oh,
had
wait,
upped their
behind the
security since
scenes.
Huggy's escape. Now to deactivate everything, the
Yeah, I don't know if in the other video they said that Huggy like escaped before due to Poppy. I don't think they said that.
prototype needed something called the Omni Hand.
The
Poppy
Omni
knew about
Hand.
this hand. She'd seen the executives use it throughout the factory. The Warden, Leith Pierre, Eddie Ritterman, and Stella Graber. Eddie and Leith were out of the question. They were all big on the experiments and weren't likely to give up the hand. The Warden was a potential option, but then Poppy piped up. Stella would be perfect. She'd seen Stella around the Playcare.
Yeah,
Despite
then she showed the
approving of
children and stuff.
experiments, she was clearly at the end of her rope.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
they could appeal to her love and care for the kids and get her to help them. Prototype agreed, though they also knew Stella wouldn't be enough on her own. Fortunately, Stella had been communicating with other scientists about their displeasure. Scientists like Preston Willard. And so, the prototype began sending VHS tapes as well as a phone to Stella. When she heard what it had to say, she folded and agreed to help, waiting for the prototype signal to use the Omni Hand to deactivate everything, having staff members untie and release the giant toys so that they could all go free. That wasn't exactly how it went, though. The Hour of Joy happened on August 8th, 1995 at 11
Said free. Freedom. Buddy, we want revenge.
a.m. On that morning, almost every single employee who decided to show up to work was brutally murdered. Huggy broke from his statuesque form and attacked guests in the lobby. Catnap played with scientists like they were cat toys, even kissing
Jesus,
attacked her
bro.
captors, the ones who had untied her in the first place.
Damn,
the ones who thought they were
bro.
helping
Helping?
the cause. It was a complete
Damn.
and total massacre.
It was awful. So,
Holy
so
shit, look
awful.
at those
And
bodies.
This wasn't what I thought we were gonna leave. Leave the factory. Not this.
Damn,
Prototype had
man.
made a secondary plan without Poppy. She didn't realize this would be the result. She wouldn't have agreed to it otherwise. She saw people who she had known her whole life get slaughtered before her own eyes. Some people had absolutely no idea these experiments were even going on. They were completely innocent.
Oh, Yeah. Can you even imagine working there this whole time, not even knowing what was actually like? Oh my god, they just get killed. Honestly, for no reason, without even knowing it.
Immediately, she marched to the prototype in a rage. How dare you do this? The prototype stared at her, and in its jumble of voices explained that they could never leave the factory again. If they did,
We can never leave the factory again.
they'd just be captured and experimented on by different people.
I mean, that's true. So like, why not just say that before massacring everybody else, including people that didn't even know you guys existed and had nothing to do with what happened to you?
She still couldn't get over this betrayal, but deep down, she knew the prototype was right. At the same time, prototype
That
began
didn't make no sense.
more and more, sneaking away secretly,
Oh, this is
working
red.
on something. Poppy wasn't
The
sure
fuck?
what
Prototype
to make of
out
it
making
until
some
one
shit?
day, as she was walking around the factory, she heard a voice she'd never expected to hear again.
You know I'm still your best shot at cracking that secret.
What? How?
That-
How was he still alive? Why was he still alive? How could the prototype work with him after all he's done? And what were they working on? Toys? Experiments? The orphans had been locked up and kept safe. They'd gathered all the orphans after the Hour of Joy. Had they just picked up right where Playtime Co. left off? Poppy couldn't believe what she was seeing. She had to tell the others. Thankfully, there were others who were willing to listen. They weren't particularly happy
Oh, that's
with the new
that's the dough man thing.
arrangements, or with the fact that they were now being
Why
encouraged to
kissy face like that? I don't know.
eat the remains of humans in order to survive.
What?
Others. Thankfully, there were others who were willing to listen. They weren't particularly happy with the new arrangements, or with the fact that they were now being encouraged to eat the remains of humans in order to survive. They wanted to be free, and so experiments like Doey, Kissy, and
they
a bunch
split.
of the smiling critters all agreed to team up and defy the prototype, while also protecting those they could. Poppy agreed to join them, but she warned them the only way to stop the prototype was to destroy this entire facility, taking them all
The
with it. if
fuck,
it came to
Poppy?
that. The toys were naturally nervous, but they knew the prototype needed to be stopped. Some speculated about what happened to Harley. Maybe Leaf decided to turn him into one of his own creations so they could still use him. Maybe he'd managed to get a hold of one of the Omni-Hands from the executives. All things were possible, but for now, they needed to focus on stopping the prototype, and Poppy was going to be the one to do it. At least that's what everyone kept saying. But Poppy was conflicted. She cared deeply about these toys, but she also knew the prototype was right and that they could never, ever be
You know, the dough design, the dough buddy, dough dude, kind of fire.
free. She had to destroy everything. But then what about all these toys who looked up to her? Did she really want to kill all of these innocent children? One day, the pressure just became too much, and she ran away. Poppy would wander the now hallowed halls of Playtime Co., crying over what happened. Occasionally, she'd find employees that had somehow survived the Hour of Joy. One such employee was Preston, the one who Stella had gotten to help execute the plan. But when she looked at him, she saw the same face of guilt that she saw every time she looked in the mirror. This wasn't what either of them wanted. She warned them that if she could find them, so would others. They needed to move on. And that if anyone asked her about what she saw, she would have to tell them under fear of what the prototype would do to her. It wasn't enough to save them though. On another one of her outings, she found Preston's name tag. Just like she warned he'd been found. She wished she could have saved them, but there was nothing more she could have done without sacrificing her own life. All she could do was add a note of her own to
Something is it going to read this?
his, and then put his name tag back on sacrificing her own life. All she could do was add a note of
Sometimes inside the walls is the same sound as before, but it's closer now. Supplies low, tired, can't stay here. Can't believe I found this thing after all this time. I wonder if you're still around here somewhere so I can return to you. Who am I kidding? I found your name tag too. Put it back in your desk. Could it just seem like the right thing to do?
her own to his, and then put his name tag back on his old desk. It seemed like the right thing to do, a burial of sorts. As she did, a distressed Catbee watched her from the corner.
Chapter 5.
She
Oh
thought
shit.
she recognized those eyes. Preston? That's when she felt a metallic hand grab her porcelain ankle. Next thing she knew, she was back in her home. The home her father
little
had made for
case,
her all those
yeah,
years
the
ago.
flower.
Only this time, she was trapped in a glass box filled with the infamous red smoke. She banged, crashed, and threw herself at the glass trying to get out.
Yeah.
It was no use. This tiny body her father had given her wasn't strong enough. At that moment, the prototype creeped out of the shadows.
I'm so disappointed that you would betray us like that, Poppy. Our mere existence could mean so much more than these humans could ever understand. You just needed to trust us.
What, like I trusted you about the Hour of Joy? She rebutted.
You still don't understand, do you? That's fine. You can sit in your cage until you come to your senses. I've got plans for for a new arrival that I need to work on.
So she sat there, locked in isolation, while her friends were torn apart in the lower levels of the factory, and there was nothing she could do to help. Over the years, she spent time thinking about what the prototype was up to. Why was it still experimenting? What was it trying to achieve? Eternal life? A new perfect Poppy body for itself? A human body? But she knew she didn't have the answers. All she could do is stand and wait, hoping that something would change her fate. Wait, what did he mean by new arrival? The door swings open and in steps another surprise figure. A human.
Oh, yes.
Immediately, as if without even thinking, they opened the door to the case. Finally, she could breathe again.
Dang,
Turns out
I don't
this
remember. She
person
actually just
used
straight
to work
disappeared
here,
like
but
that?
was out the day that everyone went missing. And now they'd been sent a mysterious letter in the mail.
They stabbed this to pretend years was still here. Find the flag. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Vintage Poppy commercial.
Asking them to return to the factory, claiming that 10 years later, there are still people left in the factory. And to save them, they needed to find the flower. The prototype's handwriting was still that of hers when she was 11. A few spelling mistakes here and there too. The prototype wanted another scientist to help with these awful experiments that it was conducting. But why did it instruct him to find her? It knew where she was. It was the one who locked her away here to begin with. Why risk them being killed by Huggy on the way in? It didn't matter now. The fact was, this was her chance to end the prototype for good. But she needed this employee's help. And to do that, she knew she needed to appeal to their humanity by lying. Of course, there were no workers left, at least not as they remembered them. But why would they continue helping if they knew the truth? So she carried on the prototype's ruse. She told them they needed to find the train to get out of there, only to be grabbed out of nowhere by Mummy Longlegs. No, this was going to ruin the plan. If they lose to Mummy's games, then it's back to square one. But there was nothing she could do about it. She once again just had to sit and wait. And to her surprise, this employee did survive and killed Mummy in the process.
Good.
Now they were on the train, home free.
I'm sorry,
Damn.
I can't let you leave.
Poppy pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
She couldn't reveal the full plan. Not yet. She just needed to get this person deeper into the facility. If they were trapped with no way out other than with Poppy's help, then they definitely help her to destroy this place. What was that sound? The train crashes right in front of the Playcare. Something derailed it. Catnap and Mr. Light would be on their case at any minute.
Captain who?
In front of the Playcare. Something
Catnap and who?
derailed it. Catnap and Mr. Light would be
Miss Delightwood?
on their case at any minute. They definitely weren't going to be keen on seeing her wandering about. She made a break for it while the employee was unconscious. She'd meet back up with them later. They'd be fine. They've handled Huggy and Mummy at this point. Maybe if she could find Kissy Missy, things would be okay. It sounded like she was around here somewhere. Sure enough, she was wandering around the halls of the factory.
Oh, Miss Delightwood. Okay, Miss Delight.
So the two of them headed down, running right into Poppy's new
What
human
the
friend.
fuck?
Although she did have to stop Kissy from eating.
Yeah.
Apparently, Ollie had been in touch with the employee while Poppy was trying to find them. She wasn't sure she'd hear that name ever again, but it brought a smile to her face and a sense of calm fell over her. If he was still alive, then she knew she had to save him and whatever orphans were still alive. Together, they defeat Catnap and make their way to the elevator to head into the prison of the factory. But as they descend... No, Kissy! Poppy felt like her heart was being ripped out of her chest. She had to go and save her from whatever was happening. She didn't want to leave the employee again, but Kissy was her friend. She points them in the direction of Doe and Safe Haven, the place the rebels were all hiding, and promises to meet with them there.
Hey, dead ass, bro. What the fuck? Yo, this story kind of crazy.
Thankfully, Kissy is okay. Injured, but alive. So she patches her up and they head back towards Safe Haven. But the prototype is hot on their tail. They manage to save the employee just in the nick of time, and they meet back up with Doe. She thought this would be a good reunion, but the air feels tense. She knows Doe doesn't agree with her plan to destroy the facility. That never caused a problem before. No, it's the rumblings around her that are causing this feeling. The whispers
Rumblings?
from the toys back
Oh,
in
yeah,
Safe
from the other
Haven
toys?
that left
Yeah.
them to die.
We really trust her this time.
She felt
Yo, that's actually audio here.
But at the same time, if she wasn't okay with this, how could she carry on with her plan to destroy everything? After the employee once again proved their incredible survival skills, killing both Yarnaby and the doctor, they get a
Yarnaby's dead? Oh, thank God.
hold of the explosives. Finally, everything she dreamed of for years is going to work out. She has everything she needs to blow this place sky high. They set the charges and retreat to a safe distance, only for the bombs to go off in Safe Haven instead. No. This is the humans' fault. They screwed everything up. They even killed Doe. No, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. All she
oh,
could do
Doe
now
got
is hide with
bodied?
Kissy in the vent. Somehow, the employee meets them in the vent. Poppy is about to give them a piece of her mind, but then the
Oh,
phone
shit.
rings. Oh,
Look at this little motherfucker walking around and shit.
goodness, Ollie, he'll help us.
We're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
Obvious question with an obvious answer.
This whole time,
Oh,
Ollie was prototype.
fuck. That's crazy.
Was there ever an Ollie to begin with? Has everything been a lie? This was all part of the prototype.
Is that what Prototype was building and shit?
It needed this employee, but more importantly, it needed her. It needed her to witness everything that had been going on. It needed her to see things as it did. And so it tricked them and led them here. And now that everyone is out of their way, the prototype is coming for them both. She couldn't let the prototype catch her, not again. So she did the only thing she was good at. She ran away, abandoning Kissy and the employee. As she ran, she heard another explosion in the distance. The vent they were in had collapsed. Maybe they'd survived. Lord knows this human has survived worse. But right now, all she could think about was escaping. She's chased down by other experiments in the vents, the wrong side outermost. Expected. The prototype wasn't gonna
Wait,
let
what
her
is
get
this?
that
Is
easily.
this a trailer or something? What the
But in
fuck?
panic, she misplaces herself.
Was this
and
fan
ends up
animation?
falling down into an unknown room. As she regains consciousness and looks up, she finds herself face to face with another toy she'd not seen in a while.
Long ass
Lily
hair.
Love braids. And
Lily
that, loyal
Love
theorist, is everything we
braids.
know before chapter 5. I know I said the last timeline
Whoa.
would be the last time I did it all in one video, but YouTube is now encouraging longer videos, so I figured I'd give it a try. But oh boy, does this make me excited for the next installment. I actually feel pretty good about this timeline. The dates and order of events feel much more solid this time around. Last time I had a few
Wait, this video was really dope seeing it from her perspective. That's a trailer? That is a dope fucking trailer. I know that trailer had like a lot of
pieces
views.
that were just kind of guesstimates, but now things feel far more solid, or at least strongly theorized. Although that doesn't mean it's all perfect. I wanted to try and tell this story from Poppy's perspective just to do something different, and naturally there were some contrivances with that. Sometimes Poppy clearly knows things, we just don't know how she knows things, so I kinda had to fill in the gaps, or there's just no way she would be able to know a thing, but for the sake of a timeline, I wanted to make sure we mentioned that detail. I'm also aware of how much less impact the final part.
What the fuck is this, by the way? On the cover of Poppy Playtime 4? I don't even think this name has even showed up. I don't even think this character has showed up. What is this?
The story has when we play as just some employee. I was convinced for a long time that we play as PW from the book, and then the ARG brought him back
Nightmare Critter?
and gave us his full name, so it felt like he was going to be important. Maybe
PW
I was
Preston,
right all along. And then in the final week of the ARG, Poppy finds his name tag, and we hear the prototype talking to Preston, only to reveal a Cappy toy with human
Yeah.
eyes. So sadly, I don't think it's him. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll finally find out who we are in chapter 5, and who knows, maybe Preston will still be important, like a toy that helps us around the labs. We're definitely hurting for allies at this point, but
Dang, RP Doey,
I
dog.
guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. In the meantime, theorists, remember, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thank
W video, man. Let me know down in the comments what else should we be watching next. Or is it time to play the games?